Good morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to Across the Pitch. Today, we have the third episode in what is one of the favorite series of mine that we've ever done on the show. Welcome to Where in the World is Chris Cortez? My name is Phil Kennedy, and I'm joined by Arran Ayers. And we have Chris Cortez coming on the show for the third time with us. As you may remember, Chris was with the Phoenix Rising a few years ago. Last year, he went over and plied his trade in Thailand for a year. Now, he has gone to Northwestern Europe and is playing in Denmark for, apologize if I pronounce this incorrectly, FC Helsingor. Is that correct?
That's close enough.
Welcome to the show, Chris.
Welcome back.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Happy to be back again.
I think, can I start this, Phil? This is one thing.
Absolutely.
This is one thing that has been on the tip of my tongue. It's been buzzing around in my head. It's just one question that I have to ask you, Chris, because last time we spoke to you, probably you weren't feeling so good about where you were, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What was that? That was probably about a year ago. You sounded a little bit down when we spoke to you. How things have changed, mate. How does it feel?
No, it feels fantastic, I think one thing I had a coach from Mexico say, he said, football always turns around and football always gives you a second chance. And I thought those were some pretty wise words and some stuff that I've always tried to live with afterwards, is realize that, if things aren't working out in the moment for whatever reason, eventually they will,
And so now you're sipping a bottle of champagne on Twitter.
What happened in that year? 12 months. What happened? You've gone from one end of the world to the other. You've gone from second tier to...
Yeah, so... all right.
One thing I was going to ask you about here, this might be a good place to start, is I was looking at your club and I noticed that the owner is actually an American. So I'm wondering if maybe that had something to do with how you ended up with that particular club.
Yeah, so actually, this is kind of a wild story, even how I ended up there. I began with I was home after Thailand. Came home, was pretty much just kind of doing my normal off-season workout at a gym I work out with and training. I actually went to Phoenix for a weekend when Phoenix was playing Austin.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in July. It was middle of July. It was for a weekend, and I was hanging out with Sean Wright Phillips. Him and we met up and we went to watch the game together and stuff. And obviously see all the guys, say hi to everything and stuff like that. And it was cool. It was fun. They smashed them like 5-0 or something. It was in the middle of that 20-game run.
Did.
So
yeah, they did. We were there for that one too.
Yeah, it was a pretty great game to go to. So it was a lot of fun. I ran into more than a few of the owners as well, Berkey and Mark Detmer, and then I ran into Brett as well. And so when I ran into Brett, he asked me, what are you up to? How are things? Just kind of checking in on me. Everyone kind of was doing the same thing and had that same conversation with kind of everyone. And all those guys are awesome, and I've always been great relationships with all of them. So then Brett started speaking to me and said, well, there's this new project. This guy, Jordan Gardner, who's a buddy of mine, he's going to be running this project of this club in Denmark. And he wants to get Americans over there. And he has this whole kind of vision. And he started explaining me a bit about the project. And he said, do you think it's something you'd be interested in? And I said, honestly, yeah, that really sounds good. And Brett's partially involved in it too. He sits on the board as well. And so he kind of put us in touch via email. Jordan and I, and then Jordan and I started talking. And in the beginning, they were saying their roster was kind of full and stuff like that. And then suddenly 2-3 weeks later, I get a call from Jordan, and he's like, "Hey man, look, are you still free or what's your deal? And I was like, yeah, I was kind of weighing a couple options, but I haven't committed to anything. And he said, well, look, we'd actually really like to sign you and bring you out here and make you an offer. Things haven't worked out with a couple strikers and we want to bring in someone like you. And so I said, okay. And so we kind of, obviously sat down, crunched the numbers, contract, all that kind of stuff. Everything looked really good. I really liked it. And so I signed stuff on Tuesday. And then that Friday, I was on a flight out to Denmark.
So I imagine that had to be a bit of a change for you. I mean, you go from playing in the summer in Phoenix when it's, 110 degrees and dry to Thailand where it's, 90 degrees and 90% humidity. Next thing you know, you're playing in Denmark in the middle of the winter. So what was that like?
I got slightly eased into it, luckily, because I went there middle of August. So it was actually still okay. It was probably during the day it was 70s, and at night it would get a little chilly, but it wasn't bad. And then suddenly I remember just one day waking up and it's 30 degrees outside. I'm thinking, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Gotta love those European summers over there. That's yeah. I know all about them, mate.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first few months, it was just adjustment, getting settled in, all that kind of stuff, everything. And then ended up having a registration issue. So that's a whole nother story. But they kind of, I guess, when my ITC and transfer card and stuff was submitted to FIFA, and there was a problem with the date on the contract and just some stupid technicality, which essentially left me without being able to play until the January transfer window. So I was kind of stuck there training, and that made things a bit tough. But we had some reserve matches, and I had some meetings with the coaches, and we kind of figured out some solutions to the whole thing. And ended up, the way I look at it, it was disappointing I couldn't play, but it was, hey, make the best of it. Really adjust to Denmark more and, not have the pressure of playing matches and that kind of stuff. And it was, just do what we can, So it was really focused on what I can do better, training wise and improve until games come around and everything. So that was kind of the game plan we talked about, and coaches kind of gave me some feedback on, here's a couple of things we would like to see from you and all that kind of stuff, So that was kind of how that went. And then winter break came around, went home, recharged the batteries for a bit, and then saw the family, Christmas, all that. And then when I came back, preseason, we went to Turkey. It was going really well. Afterwards, came back playing in some friendly games. And then, of course, first league game of the season. And then all this Corona stuff happens, and we had to stop completely. So I'm thinking, I am still waiting, waiting for my debut with this team. Who knows how many months later.
So how long was it all up? How long was it all up before you?
My first official match was like June, first, second week of June, something like that was when we started up again. So I waited basically 10 months or a little over 10 months to play my first official match.
But then when you did, you hit the ground running, didn't you?
Yeah. So it went well. We had, a couple weeks of training and then started. I really just tried to, I ended up hiring a friend of mine that works as a athletic trainer and does strength training and stuff like that as well. And so I kind of asked her if she could draw me up some programs and what she would charge to kind of, work out during Corona times and then at-home workout and things like that. And after that, it was just, right when we got back to training, get going as soon as possible, because we only had really one normal game week. And then after that, it was Wednesday, Saturday, all the way to the end.
Wow. Helsingor, they were in the second division.
Yes.
And this is why I was talking about this amazing turnaround. For those of you who don't know, they got promoted.
Yeah.
With a little bit of help from yourself. So that was that little project you signed on about 10 months ago too. That was quite a decent little project they were talking about there, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was fantastic. I will say one of the big things for me and one of the biggest things that kind of was, because I was debating at first whether I even wanted to stay the whole time or whether I wanted to, would I go back and maybe be on loan to the USL team to play some matches or whatever? Or, I was kind of exploring my options. And really, I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to stay here. And because I really like the way the coaches work and I really like the group of guys. And I thought, I want to get with these group of guys and get acclimated and stuff like that. So that's kind of how why I decided to stay in the beginning, and then afterwards, things went really well. Once we were able to get back, finished up, all the protocols for Corona, and the league made the decision. Once we were able to start up, things went really well. We started a bit slow, but ended up took us about the third game to really kind of find ourselves and get that rhythm and everything. And after that, we started winning. I was able to get a couple goals, a couple assists in there too. And the team started playing really well, really clicked. And it came down to the last game. And last game, we ended up getting a tie, and that was enough and got the promotion. And so now it's, it was after, between the registration and Corona and all that stuff, it was just the hugest just satisfaction and relief that despite all that, it all was worth it.
Now, I read that the club has been around since 2005, so the club is about 15 years old. So this has been a pretty quick rise to the first division for them.
Yeah, so they were up a couple years ago, up in Superliga and stuff, and they had kind of it was kind of one of those things where they went up, and it was everyone kind of told me, because there's a few players that were on the team then, and they said, yeah, we didn't really think we were meant to be promoted to the Superliga, and we're just kind of enjoying the ride and everything like that. And then they dropped down and then dropped down again, and so suddenly in 2 years you have 2 relegations, and money was mismanaged and some finances and other things. I don't know all the story. I wasn't here for all of it. I've just heard, bits and parts of it. But basically, there was some mismanagement and stuff like that. And it kind of created an opportunity for Jordan wanted to do something, find a club in Europe in general. And this kind of opportunity presented itself here in Denmark. And Scandinavia is a bit easier for Americans to get work visas in Europe, especially first ones and stuff. And so it kind of stars aligned for him. And this was kind of an ideal scenario.
So you've also got a couple of Aussie teammates as well, I believe.
Yeah, I got 2 Kiwis.
Oh, they're Kiwis?
Yeah.
Oh,
not as cool. Not as cool. I remind them all the time.
I'm sorry. That was my fault. I saw the little flag and it looked like an Australian flag.
You're a shit stirrer, Phil Kennedy.
Oh, man. He just wanted to prank you, right?
He did. He did. He absolutely did just now. Fuck you, Phil. I want to know about the town itself, because it was the setting for Hamlet, I believe.
Yeah. So yes, it is. So the it's a small city, pretty northern. It's about 40 minutes by train, 30 minutes driving north of Copenhagen. So the cool thing was with that, I was able to kind of explore Copenhagen a lot as well and see some stuff. But yeah, in the town, the actual castle that's discussed in Hamlet is based on what's called Kronborg Castle, which is the actual castle right on the water right there in Helsingor. So there's
cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty epic. You can walk all around it and stuff like that. It's got some cool walkways and all kinds of grass and stuff around. And so a lot of people like to just walk around. People go fishing right on the coast around it and stuff. So it's really, really sweet.
That's awesome. That turned my nerd on just there. Awesome.
Well, I'll add to your nerd a little bit.
Okay, please do.
I heard one of the guys, it's our equipment man, he's obviously grown up there, lived there forever. And he told me a little bit of history about the castle as well. So there's Sweden is a 20-minute ferry ride right across. You can see Sweden from Denmark. Like you can see it right across the water. It's super close. And there's another castle on the other side, on the Swedish side, that actually used to be partnered with this castle on the Helsingor side. And so what they did is Denmark actually used to own both sides of the strait, and in some war, whatever, it got taken over. But before, when ships would pass through that little strait, what they would have to do is they had cannons on each castle that could reach exactly halfway across the water.
Wow.
And so if someone didn't pay the tax, they could reach anyone in range between the 2 castles.
That's amazing. That was particularly nerdy. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, a little fun history fact for you.
Oh, well, I love it.
So turning back to football a little bit, one of the things that I really wanted to do is, so when we spoke with you when you were over in Thailand. We went into a little bit about the Thailand and the style of play in that league and things like that. So that's one thing I wanted to ask you is, what does the style of play in the Danish league look like? Is it, would you say it's kind of more similar to the style you would see in USL, style you would see in England? What kind of football are they playing in Denmark?
I'd say it's a bit of almost a bit of a German style. I would think is probably the closest one, where it's kind of that combination of physicality, but also with that technique. You know what I mean? Obviously, Bundesliga's on a very different level with that, but I would say a balance of that some athleticism and some technical qualities as well. I would say it's not quite as fast all the time as maybe England is. I would say England, is really, you look at English style, is really the fastest kind of play, and it's go all the time. And I'd say it's a little bit below that as far as pace goes. That's kind of I would best relate it to.
So it's a very technical game. You have teams working up from the back, not a lot of long balls and things like that, it sounds like. In general, my experience, just now that I've played a bit here, and we've played against teams we played in preseason teams from Kazakhstan. I've played against some Swedish teams and stuff like that and everything, and a few others, and everything is just, there's a lot more of that tactical intelligence, I would say, is the biggest difference. Knowing where you are and knowing timing of when to run and when to move into spaces, and being able to really start thinking ahead more and more. Because guys play, a lot more first-time passes around the corner without looking, and they just expect you to be either checking or running over the top, and it's got to be very coordinated, So subtle things like that I notice more and more. And then as you get to higher divisions, it just becomes, more physical, and then obviously more technical and more intelligent as you get higher and higher. But yeah, it's that's kind of what I would say is just that whole big picture, because technically, the way I look at it in the USL, technically players are fantastic. You have some players that are unbelievable with their feet and such great skills, but I find that sometimes just the big picture and how good offensive and defensive lines, how well organized we have to be defensively, how much we work on shape, how much we work on patterns and movements and things like that, is in how much everyone does the same kind of thing and how they can get out of tight spaces by playing out of it. For me, is kind of that next level stuff, and it's fun to play in, honestly. Yeah, it sounds like a good fit for your game, especially the way that you can hold the ball up for your teammates and things like that. And that was something I read in the article when you signed with them, is that it looked like they were really looking for someone that played your style. Now, looking at the squad, I see that you're one of 4 internationals. We mentioned the two Kiwis, and it looks like he had someone from Sweden, I think.
Yeah.
So would that be pretty average, where most teams in Denmark have mostly Danish players and a few internationals, or what does that split normally look like?
It gets a bit higher as you get to higher levels, because I know where we were playing, there's also a bit more limits on international players from the lower leagues, just because in the lower leagues they kind of view as a bit more developmental. So it's meant to encourage, maybe younger guys and try and get more Danish players and develop them more. When you get to the higher divisions and stuff, that's when they allow a few more internationals. So I know that partially influenced it. But I think it's for me too. It's just a matter of finding the right players that fit, and they had quite a squad and a lot of Danish guys. And everyone's really cool. So it was a good group, and I think that's the thing too. Is from the beginning it was a good group, and I think it was a couple pieces to the puzzle that were needed. I was one of them. Just because my coach said from the beginning, he's like, you offer something a little different, and you can be a target guy and hold the ball up a bit more and, get in the box and win a lot more stuff and help defensively as well, on crosses and set pieces and things. So I was kind of that's the way they kind of viewed it, was just, offer something different from a striker's point of view. Aside from that, the rest of the team, we had pretty much 2 guys per position. We're pretty set, So I think that was part of it too, was just, they already had quite a few pieces to the puzzle as well.
So it seems to me the Helsingor project has a little ways to go, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a couple of relegations. One of those has been reversed. You're going to be hanging around?
I mean, yeah, that's that's something we'll see and kind of there's budget meetings and things to be had now that promotion has happened, and now that there's more things to do behind the scenes, obviously, on top of salaries and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of numbers for them to crunch and decide now that everything's happened. And so right now it's about basically relax, enjoy the fact that we won promotion, and then we'll be sorting out contracts and everything in the next next couple of weeks and stuff like that, and then figure out everything for next year. So I mean, I enjoyed a lot of things, and it's something where I wouldn't mind going back. I would like to. Like I said, I get along with the guys, did really well. I was able to at the end really kind of show what I can do and show I can help the team and stuff. And so that's kind of where it's at. But there's there's the business side and all that kind of stuff and everything too. So we have to. Yeah, it's a bit of a waiting game. It's the way it is.
One thing you mentioned there is getting along with the rest of the guys. And this was something I was going to ask you about. When you were in Thailand, you had started learning to speak Thai a bit. How's your Danish coming?
It's coming along. It's coming along. Speaking is I will say I'm just a bit shy speaking, because when you don't know a lot and you're kind of like, it takes a bit to kind of really start pushing to do that. However, I mean, now I'm at a point where, the last few team meetings, I'm able to get about 2/3 or 3/4 of what the coach is saying, all in Danish in team meetings and stuff. And he would come up afterwards and translate for us and everything like that, and do the meeting again in English, or do it beforehand or another day or whatever. But for the most part, I started realizing more and more that I didn't really need the translation so much, only maybe 1 or 2 lines of a PowerPoint or something at most. But for the most part, I was able to pick it up. And same with general conversation and things like that. I'd get at least half of what's going on, even in normal conversation.
Wow.
Obviously, when it's team meetings and stuff, it's a lot of football terms and things that are repeated. So I learn a lot of the same words. And so you remember it a lot easier. I memorize it a lot easier. So, but yeah, when it came to everyday kind of stuff, it was just, every week try and pick up 1 or 2 words and slowly get more and more of it. And I was well on my way with that. So coming along, I would say my hope would be if I was in Denmark another year, my hope would be to speak like a 6-year-old.
I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed.
That may have been a silver lining to you being over there for so long before you got a chance to play, is that you got a chance to pick up the language before you had to go out on the field and argue with the refs and things like that.
Yeah.
The important part is that it looks like the guys that signed the checks over there speak English.
Yeah. The cool thing is, though, actually, I mean, essentially everyone in Denmark also speaks English. So it's taught in schools from a pretty young age. Obviously from very young, it's always Danish, but then I want to say by like 10, 11, everyone learns English and learns it all the way through. And so, everyone speaks it, whether or not they can always do certain expressions or certain idioms or, the subtle things like that. They'll sometimes get, caught up in that or some weird word or something like that. But in everyday normal conversation, everything, it is not a problem and everyone speaks it. And I mean, they also take a third language afterwards. So some of the guys can even, I had 3 guys, sorry, that spoke Spanish as well. Okay enough where they could definitely get by if they were dropped off in Spain or Mexico or something. And if I spoke slowly to them in Spanish, they could get everything. And they liked it because they could practice their Spanish. They don't get to keep it up as much,
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, you could go, I mean, any restaurant, anywhere, and you can order in English and all that kind of stuff, which in a sense actually almost kind of enables bad habits of not learning Danish. So I had to kind of actively make an effort to try and learn Danish. And I think that was one of the things a lot of the guys saw, that I was really trying to learn and actively trying to figure out, and just learn the language. And, everyone's always going to respect that a bit and realize, yeah, he's trying to incorporate himself. And I'm always big, I'm living in Denmark. So yeah, I should try and incorporate myself in the culture and submerge myself. And I think, language is one of the important parts. And I think that kind of helped me integrate into the group, that much smoother and that much faster.
Yeah, I've noticed that it seems like wherever you go that you really try to become a part of the culture. And like you said, I think that probably goes a long way with your teammates, because it shows that you're committed to being there, and it's just not somewhere that you happen to show up. It's where you're committed to being at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're a guy from California that managed to fit in Phoenix. So if you could do that.
Yeah, I think that was the toughest one of all of them, Thailand and Denmark were easy compared to Phoenix.
So as we talk to you now, it is off season over there. You're not actually in Denmark right now, are you?
No, I'm in Austria. I'm in a small town. I'm visiting my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister. They have a house out here. So I came out here to kind of visit them and hang out. We're a little bit outside of Linz. If you know where that is, it's kind of a smaller city. But then like Salzburg's kind of the next closest big city. It's a little bit further away. But yeah, so pretty much came out here because going home is very complicated right now, as everyone knows, with traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'm, you're able to travel within the European Union. Within most countries, there are a few that you can't, but for the most part, within the European Union, you can travel no problem. So if I were to go home, I would have to go home, and then when I come back, I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that either takes away 2 weeks from my vacation, or 2 weeks from preseason, or somewhere in between, some combination of those two. And it just didn't make sense to do so, and to kind of create all this hassle and all these problems. So yeah, it's a bummer, because I really wanted to be able to, go see my family, go home, see my friends, go see everyone, and just be in California, get some authentic Mexican food and stuff like that, But it is what it is. Had to kind of make a decision with it, and so yeah, now I'm here hanging out, and that's pretty much my plan for the next few weeks. Kind of lie low and relax and recharge the batteries a little.
I know what you mean. I was once stuck in Pittsburgh for 3 months, so the only Mexican restaurant they have there is Taco Bell. So when I got back to Phoenix, the first thing I did was go and get myself some authentic Phoenix Mexican food.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's best food in the world, in my opinion.
Really? I thought you liked pizzas, Phil. You're always banging on about these pizzas. What's going on there, mate?
Well, so I talk about pizzas with jalapeno peppers. So my pizzas are kind of Mexican food too. So I'm a Phoenix guy through and through. I'll put the jalapeno peppers on my Cheerios. Who needs strawberries?
Oh my goodness. So COVID's obviously thrown a bit of a hole in everyone's plans. What's the deal with, I mean, that's just saying it lightly. Let's just say, what's the deal with the off season? Because it seems like it's going to be a little bit shorter. Are they, tell me a little bit about how that restart happened over there. I'm curious about that.
So our restart was actually delayed a couple times based on government decisions. Every 3 weeks to a month, the government, every 2 weeks they were getting together, but about every month they were announcing things that could open or could not open yet, and obviously phasing things back in slowly but surely. And so football is obviously one of those, and just us being able to play in general. So they kind of delayed it a bit, and then afterwards, when they finally got government approval, they had to have all these different scenarios planned out and decide what was the best way to do it, because there was no way we could play all the games we wanted to play, because we originally were going to have to play. We had 4 or 5 games left of our Eastern region. And then afterwards, what we were meant to do was the top 6 from the West and the top 6 from the East get together and make a promotion group, and then bottom 6 and bottom 6 get together. And so then we would play, again, our top Eastern teams and then also the top Western teams from Denmark. And you would play each one home and away. So, you're talking, we had 15, 16 games that we had to make up, or maybe even more than that. And so suddenly it turned into, well, how can we do this? And what can the league do is the best solution? And what they ended up deciding was, what you're going to do is you're not going to play anyone from your own side, from your East Conference or West Conference anymore, because you've already played them all beforehand. So the points froze as they were just when everything happened and we stopped. And then what they did is, all right, top 6 would play each other. So all we did was played West Coast teams, the top 6 Western teams, and kind of did it like that. And then most points took the promotion. So that was kind of their decision, and that was how the restart went and everything like that. With that, we had to still cram in all the matches, and Wednesday, Saturday, pretty much the entire time. So now the good thing is, moving up to Division 1. Division 1's actually was still going on a couple weeks after us. So it gives us automatically a couple weeks of rest that other teams won't have, and allows us to recover a bit, especially after the crazy schedule. And then I think they're only getting 7 to 10 days, something like that, of their off season. So for us, it's kind of worked out as an advantage a bit, because 3 weeks is pretty solid and ideal, where you can take a week and a half of really relax, let all the bangs and bumps and bruises get out. And then next week and a half, you can kind of slowly start building up. And then by the time preseason starts, you're as fresh as can be and kind of ready to go and stuff. So that's kind of the way it is. So for us, it's going to be about 3 weeks, maybe just a bit over 3 weeks of break. And then after that, right back into preseason and starting to play friendlies and all that.
Yeah. 10 days though. That's, man, it blows me away that we're not going to really see, for the most part, we're not going to see an off season at all, which I like. I love my football, but man, it's going to be tough on the players.
Yeah. Hard to complain as a fan.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, you look at obviously the top leagues in Europe and everything, with Champions League becoming a tournament in August and then having to restart the next year afterwards and everything. And it's becoming a lot. So, and I mean, it's happening everywhere. I've talked to friends and seen, and, all over, and it's all kind of the same thing, where it's just cram it in so you can try and get as close to a normal schedule by the following year. So everyone knows next year is going to be slightly off, but hopefully the year after it can be totally normal calendar again.
So what you described with how the league ended there, it was kind of a sprint type tournament, if you will, where you have a lot of games played together in a short period of time. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is if you thought your experience of playing in the playoffs in the USL kind of helped you for that kind of tournament, because that's something, maybe they don't play that way in Europe. It's just kind of the whole league season, but you had some experience in playing in the playoffs. Did you think that helped you in the tournament in Denmark?
Absolutely. I think, you view it as basically you're playing, it's kind of like a knockout tournament, because, if you lose more than a couple of games, you're really suddenly throwing away a promotion that all year has been fine. And it suddenly comes down to, 6-7 games or whatever at the end. It was interesting because I think it was a combination of playoffs in USL, and then playoffs in Mexico was another one. When I played down there when I was younger, you do, how Liga MX does with playoffs, and they do Wednesday, Saturday, and they'll play the team home on Wednesday and Saturday away, and that kind of thing. And that's how their whole playoff schedule goes too. So I think kind of the combination of obviously the occasion with USL, because with Mexico is with youth teams and stuff, so the combination of getting used to that, being used to that schedule from Mexico, of playing that many matches and traveling in between and everything, and just the occasions from the USL, being up for the big games and being ready for it, and really being able to know, you know what, this is everything that's on the line. And this means a lot to everyone, and this is a huge next few games, and let's be up for it, and let's show why we deserve promotion. And fortunately, we did.
You're what I consider to be a big game player too, because you're that guy that kind of steps up with the spotlight as the brightest. I remember you coming out and scoring that goal early on at the Western Conference Championship game, and then of course, scoring some big goals in this tournament. Being from California, I imagine that you're familiar with Big Shot Bob. So maybe we should start calling you Big Shot Chris.
Oh man! Oh,
I saw I mentioned that picture of you sipping the champagne on Twitter, and just the look on your face in that picture kind of says it all. But what was it like to be able to be there? Celebrating the league title on the field like that, because that was a first in your career for you, was to win a league title, correct?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, it was, like I said, I think it already was going to be something really great. The fact that despite registration, despite Corona, to still come back and then do it, I think made it just that little extra bit sweeter. It was a combination of, just sheer obvious, ecstasy and joy. But on top of that, just this relief, of just, we did it. We got it done. We delivered what we set out to do, and just that satisfaction. And you could just it was like, I can relax now, For 2 seconds, I can sit here and just enjoy this for a second. And just, what, all that struggle, all that BS, all of it was all worth it in the end.
Yeah, I can imagine that after going through all of that and just to kind of finally reach that end point and have it be the goal of all goals to win that league championship, it just had to make it so much more satisfying.
Yeah, it really, really was. And so, it's almost indescribable, you try and give words to describe it, but I mean, it's just this sheer, just through your whole body, and just every guy you look at, you turn to when you hug coach or hug another player or hug your kit man or whatever. And, we all did this, we're all in this together. And it's just, to know that, hey, all that crap we had to do, all the sacrifices we made, all were worth it,
Brilliant stuff, man. I've got to say, I'm so happy that, it really looks like things have turned around for you. I know that there's plenty of Phoenix Rising fans still following you on Twitter and giving you an up for, winning that championship. I'm just happy to hear from you, mate. Happy to hear you doing well. I feel like you're a great aunt or something, so good on you, son.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Chris, I'm so happy that things have turned around for you in Denmark. And, of course, we're going to follow your career wherever in the world it goes. And it was great, like I said, just seeing you on Twitter, sipping that champagne. It just made us so happy for you over here. And I know that all of Phoenix Rising Nation, not just Edward, but all of Phoenix Rising is following you and rooting for you. And we really appreciate your time on the show today. Before we wrap up, did you have anything else that we hadn't asked you about?
That pretty much sums it up. Yeah, that's about it. That I think sums up since last time, pretty much.
Yes.
Well, perfect. It's been fabulous catching up with you, and we've really enjoyed learning some more about the Danish league. I think that every time we talk to you, we get to learn about a new league that we hadn't really followed before. But I really liked what you had to say about the technical style of play, and I'm most happy that you seem to have found that you're that piece of the puzzle that they were looking for.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's going back to what you said about learning new stuff. I mean, I'm also out here learning things as I show up there. A bit before I come out, I'm suddenly finding out how the leagues work as well. So we're in that learning process together.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. You have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right.